Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Hope. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors. Today I have my friend Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I'm super excited. Jeff's going to share his story of hope with us. So I just want to explain a little bit about what hope is, helping other people evolve. This is my YouTube channel and podcast. All I'm trying to do out here is help people to know that they don't struggle alone in life. You know, on a daily basis, there's so many people out here in this world, especially nowadays, that feel like they're at home struggling by themselves, no matter if it's grief, addiction, depression, the loss of their selves. You know, they feel like they're all alone. And our stories are struggles, but we've gotten to a strength through our struggles. So we're always a work in progress, I say, but maybe you would hear this story today and you'll get out of bed and know that you will be fine. So let me try my watch. So, you know, I'm super excited. So Jeff and I work at the casino together.
Yep.
And it was funny because one day he came up to me and he said, hey, on your podcast, do you interview people that, you know, were doing good in life, basically, right? And lost things to addiction and then, you know, are coming back through a strength. And I'm like, that's exactly who I interview. Do you know somebody like that? And he says, yeah, me. I said, perfect, let's set it up. And that was probably about 6 or 7 weeks ago. So I'm happy that we finally got to get together here, and I'm super excited to hear your story. You know, I always tell people, you know, just kind of start, I guess, wherever you want to begin with it. You know, the struggles, but the solutions and the strength we get to.
Well, you know, it's something I've always fought with. You know, I never thought I was good enough. So, you know, I turned to drugs and alcohol. Basically alcohol first, and then it evolved into drugs like everything else. But, you know, the alcohol made me smarter, better looking. I could dance better and all that kind of stuff. You know, when I was in a fraternity in college, that didn't help at all. And yeah, it's just it's a lifelong thing.
So when did you start like drinking?
Oh, I have no idea.
No?
Young. Before I was 18.
Yeah. So, because I know I started my drinking. I mean, I wasn't like full-fledged alcoholic at that point, of course, but at 12 is when I had my first drink. So very young too. So
yeah, we my parents had a cottage, right? And when we were teenagers, we used to go out on the pontoon boat at midnight, right?
Okay.
And we would drink all night long. And luckily, one of the girls that was drinking with us, her dad owned the carryout on the lake.
Oh, nice.
So we would pull up to the dock and go in the carryout, you know, at 2 a.m. when nobody's around.
Right.
So
yeah,
alcohol was not hard to come by. Plus, you know, those were the days where in Michigan, if you were 18, you could drink anything you wanted. So, and that's where the cottage was. And it's like, I could buy whatever I wanted. Who cares?
There you go, telling our age.
Yeah, I'm old.
I was at that age too. Trust me, I know. Okay. So you just progressively and then get into college. You're in the fraternity. I'm sure that was
right. Well, yeah, and that was just you know, we drank because, you know, it was a day.
Right.
So we drank a lot, or I drank a lot, and you know, I was just to toot my own horn, I was in the beer Olympics at school, and I was our you know, I was the go-to guy in my fraternity, should we say. I won a chugging contest in Daytona Beach one year. So I mean, it's so I used to brag that I was the best chugger in the world at that point. It was during spring break.
That's awesome. So it's amazing, because I think back a lot of times, you know, because people are like, because there was times when I drank and it was good and it was fun, you know, and I don't want people to ever think that it wasn't, because, you know, they're like, oh, you must have been so miserable. And I wasn't always miserable. It was just when the drinking took me over, you know, when it physically took me over, that's when the misery became.
No, I agree. I had a lot of fun drinking and partying.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where it was just dragging on me all the time. It was, you know, one thing is I never had a steady girlfriend.
Okay.
Right. Excuse me. Never had a steady girlfriend. you know, the only friends I had were the ones I drank with, you know, and if I wasn't at the bar drinking with them, they didn't want anything to do with you,
Right.
really.
Right.
So, and it wasn't like, again, it wasn't times where we were hooked up 24 hours a day, you know.
Right, right.
It was harder to get a hold of people.
Yeah.
So, but but that was always underlying, yeah, all my drinking is that I wanted to be part of something, right?
Yes.
And so I had to drink more to be part of something. And then when I graduated from college, I went to work in a car dealership as a salesman.
Okay.
Okay. And, you know, and then I got involved with, to be part of it, I got involved with guys that did coke, and then I started doing cocaine. And of course, with an addictive personality, that wasn't good.
Right, right.
So I did more and more and more of that. And that's, you know, and it was funny because, you know, I was still successful in what I did.
Right.
I was still able to sell cars, and I would still been at that dealership until my manager took my demo out for a ride and hit the brakes, and the beer can rolled out from under my seat. That was kind of the end of that one.
Yeah.
So, but I moved on, and eventually I made it up to where I was sales manager and general sales manager of a car dealership.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've always had inside me driven to do better.
Right.
Okay. And I, you know, sometimes I just think that was just a persona that I had that hid who I really was. Because and just jump forward, like I was telling you, I in the last 5 years, I started to see a therapist. And, you know, the first time I went into her office, here I am in a suit, tie, you know, and it was winter time. So I had this cashmere overcoat on,
Okay.
and I come charging into her office like you know, I own the place, right? And then, you know, it was through talking to her that the humility struck, and I mean, it knocked me down a few pegs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That humbleness will do it quick, won't
oh
it?
yeah, yeah. It's, you know, I always say that we're lucky, you know, because one of the greatest gifts that we have is our ability to reflect and see where things happened. But if those things wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have gotten where you are. So you got to go through a lot of pain and growth to get to where you are.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And that's huge. And to know that, and, you know, a lot of people unfortunately go through that pain and they unfortunately don't learn from it, and they continue to live in that. My friend and I were just talking about this the other day. Like, you know how a spinning top, you know, it starts spinning, right? Or a whirlpool, and it starts spinning and spinning. Well, when we go through, I've gone through a lot too, and I was able to like get out of that exact spin, right? And then learn from it. And sometimes I go into another spin, but some people just continuously stay in that spin, unfortunately. And that's what I like to express to people. Like, you go through the things to learn through the things, you know, and hopefully you can learn and grow through it. And then as you go through life, then you learn a little more and keep growing through it. So you said the first time you got sober was 1988. Is that what you said?
Right.
Right. So what was your bottom at that point?
Well, here I was general sales manager for Jeep Eagle dealership, right?
Okay.
And I had just gotten off like a 3-day bender, right? And I'm sitting at my desk, and the owner of the dealership calls me into his office with another guy. And I mean, we're all friends, so there wasn't a big deal. Well, I didn't think at the time, but he goes, listen, here's the deal. You got 2 choices. You're either going to go to rehab, and at that time it was the Tennyson Center. Okay. And at St. Fees, or I'm going to fire you right now. Well, I didn't want to get fired, you know, so I said, I guess I'm going to the Tennyson Center. Now, I was ready. At that point, I was ready. I was done. I mean, it was almost a 24-hour thing with me, you know.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you do coke just before you're ready to go to bed. So that's the wrong thing to do. And then you're sitting laying in bed thinking, okay, if I go to sleep right now, I still got 4 hours, I'm going to get some
Right,
sleep.
right.
And then it's 3 hours and 2 hours, and pretty soon you didn't get any sleep.
Right.
Right. So, so I remember they took me to the Tennyson Center right off the showroom floor. Right.
Okay.
And with nothing. I didn't have a change of clothes. I didn't have, any kind of toiletries. I didn't have anything, right? So the first thing I had to do was I actually had to call my parents then to tell them that, hey, I'm in rehab and I need you to stop by my apartment and get me some things.
Right. Now, at this point, did your parents realize that you had a problem?
No.
No. Okay.
No, because a good friend of mine, they went at the dealership. They actually went and saw him and said that, did you know this was going on? Because we didn't know it was going on.
Right. Right.
So, and I think about that, and they had to know. They just kind of, just like parents do. They're not my kid.
Right,
So-
right. It's so funny because this conversation is so good because the same friend that I was talking with the spinning top, we were talking about that, like how when I quit drinking, my mom was like, well, you're not really an alcoholic. I'm like, Mom, I weigh 85 pounds. My eyes are yellow. I'm about to die. But it's like the parents that fail, right?
Right.
Like they really don't want to see it, whether it's your kid, your spouse, or whatever. You just don't want to see it. So you keep that veil there. Like you said, not my kid, not my husband, not my wife, So yeah, and I was very functioning too. So apparently you must have been pretty
Oh,
functioning.
very.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was running a car dealership.
Right. I was
And-
running bars and
Okay.
golf
and,
courses. and
but I
stuff.
was also doing a gram of coke a day.
Yeah. I wasn't
So,
doing that, but I was drinking. I drank a lot.
I mean, my dealer would drive through the parking lot and put it in my hand and then just keep going.
geez.
It was so and then I was every night after work, we had to go get drunk. And if I wasn't out with this guy this night, then I was out with him the next night. And it's like I never had a day off from drinking.
Right.
So anyway, they took me, and this is something I remember to this day. I woke up the next morning, right, and I was sharing a room with another guy, and he was like an Eric the Red kind of guy. He had long beard and long red hair, but anyway, he woke up and in the next bed, and his hair was going one direction, and his beard was going to the other direction, and I'm thinking, what am I getting myself into at this point?
Right.
So, because you had to go to detox before you go to Tennyson Center, right?
Right.
So I had to spend a couple of days in detox, and it was like, oh, this is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
This can't be me,
Right.
is what I'm thinking. It can't be me. They took me down to get me to go through all your medical insurance and money and stuff like that. I had a Rolex watch on. I had $100 in my pocket. I mean, it wasn't like the normal person that
you would think, right?
Right. I was not. So anyway, so then they took me to the Tennyson Center, and I did 21 days in rehab then.
Okay.
So, and then I had to do like 8 weeks in aftercare after that. So, but
You kept your job then?
I kept my job,
Mhm.
and it was an eye-opening experience. But I had a bunch of, before I went in, we had the ability through Chrysler to earn these bonuses,
Okay.
right? And then every once in a while, Chrysler would cut you a check, right?
Okay.
Well, I had a bunch of them built up. I hadn't got the check, and then by the time I got back, I had lost all that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I had a condo at the time on a golf course, and I lost that. I had to sell it, and I just was able to sell it to get out from under it, and those are the kind of, I still lost stuff.
Right.
It wasn't-
Yeah. And so when you just said that too, though, about like, you had the Rolex watch and the money in your wallet. And unfortunately, it's so stereotypical, let's say, of people that are addicts, alcoholics, all of that people think that they're the ones that are on the street corners or with the brown bag, drinking
Right.
out of it. And that's not, I was just talking about this right before Overdose Awareness Day. People don't realize how many people are out there that are functioning addicts. There are so many people out there that are, whether it's heroin, whether it's cocaine, whether it's alcohol, that actually get through their days and nobody knows, right? I actually just had a friend of mine, her husband passed away from, and she had no idea he was a heroin user, but he maintained it. That was it. It was a maintenance for him, you know? So it's hard when we're like that because unfortunately so many people look at it in that judgment way, you know? And then when I quit, like you said, well, no, you're not the typical, you work, you're not beating people, you're not fighting all the time, you know, you come home. So it's just, I just think that it's a big awareness that needs to be, you know.
Right. Because when I was in rehab, they, after a little while, they start taking you to meetings all over town. And they were taking me to these meetings that were like inner city meetings and stuff like that. It's like I really felt out of place. And then they took us to one, it's called New Hope. It's in H.O.P.E Church in Ottawa Hills.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was like people like me, you know, and then it's like for the first time I said, I get it now, you know, I can still be me and I can get the help that I need. So
yeah, when you say that, like people like me, you know, that's when I'm like people like me. Really, all people are like me. You know what I mean? We're all, but it's just that whole scenario of where you live, what's going on, you know, all of that, and then statistics say. But when you walk into a room in Ottawa Hills or Savannah or something like that, you're like, wait a minute, you know, it's the same people. It's just a different type of.
Yeah, the stories are the same.
Stories are the same, exactly.
The stories are the exact same.
Exactly.
You know, it's really weird. You go to these meetings and you sit there and you go, by the grace of God, there go I, you know, when they're, you know, especially when they're new and, you know, they're on the pink cloud and they think everything is great. And they haven't had to crash yet. So.
Well, and that's it right there, right? So I always talk about this and maybe, I don't know. So then you ended up using again? Is that?
No. Actually, I've never gone back to cocaine. Never, ever. Since '88, I haven't touched any hard drugs or anything like that. And for the longest time, I didn't drink either. And, but as I got older, you start to think, oh,
maybe I can.
Yeah, I can have a couple of drinks now and then. So I kind of was starting to let it back in. And then when, like I said, when I got my divorce, it was just, I mean, I just jumped right back in the bottle. I mean, and it was quick. There was we built up to it. I mean, it was just sober one day and drunk the next day. So, but like I said, the difference is that I knew where to go get help.
Right.
So you know, and it's like, oh, I can't be drinking like this. And I mean, it wasn't even that long. It was only a couple of months, I think, or something like that. And it was like, nah, I got to find a meeting.
That's good that you knew those rooms. I say that my son's dad, he was a alcoholic, crack addict. And for years, I went into the rooms with him, either sitting in an AA meeting or sitting in an Al-Anon meeting. So when I got sober, the same thing. I knew where to go. Like, I was like, okay, I know I need to go to an AA meeting. This is where I need to go. So I'm always like, a few things. I'm thankful for my boys and I can be thankful for AA from him. That's the only credit I've given him. But yeah, so, and then when you said about, so I talk about this a lot and this is just my opinion and I tell people this. I have friends that are recovering heroin addicts, recovering cocaine addicts, and they're like, well, I still drink. Now I watch them drink and I'm like, dude, not my place to say, but you're an alcoholic straight up. And they're like, but that wasn't my drug of choice. So I always say, well, cocaine wasn't my drug of choice. That doesn't mean I can go out and start doing cocaine because I'm going to end up back there. And in my head too, you know, people have said to me, like, you've been sober 18 years. Do you think you could have a glass of wine? And I'm like, you know, I'm so happy with life. I don't even think about it, but I'm like, I don't know, but I don't ever want to go back there again. And I watched my uncle, the same as you, like, he was sober, I think 15 years. And he started drinking and it wasn't like gradually, like it was like the day he quit drinking and the day he started again was the same as he was the day that he quit. Like, bleh, like complete, like it's almost like your body just goes, okay, we're back.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it had been probably 20 years that I was sober when I really went back out. So, and now it's been I'm probably knocking on the door of 15 again now.
Okay,
So, but like you were saying, I really don't even think about drinking anymore.
Right.
So, I have, because I still like to have a cold beer now and then.
Okay.
So I had always had a few
O'Doul's,
O'Doul's
yeah,
in my
yeah,
refrigerator.
Yeah.
And I think the last 6-pack that I bought, and it might be, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, and
Yeah.
it's still in my
Yeah,
refrigerator.
Yeah.
So, and I just don't think about it. When I
Right.
get something to drink, I mean, it's right there, and I don't even see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, when I was working, and I don't want it to make it sound bad, but I don't consider the casino working.
Okay.
You know, that's
Yeah.
kind of my retirement job,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably do something about that too here in a little bit. But anyway, I was a financial advisor.
Oh,
28
okay.
years, financial
Okay.
advisor. I own my own franchise. Okay. And but we had an office. A bunch of us got together and had an office together. So we had like a kind of like partners, but not really partners.
Okay.
But anyway, when we would go out to dinner, you know, we'd always have fund companies taking us out to dinner and stuff like that because, you know, we managed a lot of money and
Right.
they wanted our money. So,
Right.
but I'd have like some kind of a non-alcoholic beer then.
Right.
But other than that,
Yeah.
I don't have a desire for it.
Yeah. Do you ever do, so I always tell people, like, when they're especially new in sobriety, I'm always like, remember the reason why you quit. Remember never forget why you quit, and never forget how sick you were that day
Right.
that you quit. Because I think that's very important, because a lot of people, even like going through detox, I've seen people go through detox with opiates and stuff. And I'm like, man, I mean, it's bad. And I've seen the detox of alcohol is the same, like bad. And I'm like, don't ever forget. I'll go see him in the hospital. Like, don't forget how you feel
Yeah.
today. Don't
Yeah.
let that pass you by.
Well, that's it. I can, these are still vivid memories today.
Right.
Being taken off the showroom floor, okay, and calling my mom and dad, and then waking up with the guy that I would normally not have anything to do with.
Right.
So yeah, I remember that stuff.
Yeah.
And then because of the cocaine, you know, and you didn't sleep a lot, and for the next 21 days, I slept all the time.
Right.
So I pretty much slept through my rehab.
Yeah. So now here we are. And like you said, you started some counseling 5 years ago. I think another thing that people don't realize, because they'll say to me, well, you've been sober 18 years. You're so strong, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, I didn't get here like this.
Yeah.
Like, it's taken work. And that's what I like to let people know. Like, life still happens, right? I say Jeff doesn't walk outside, and Timmy walks outside, and there's this big bubble around us that says, you know what? Everything's gonna be perfect in your world. Nothing's gonna ever go wrong, right?
Yeah, right.
Because that's what I feel like people think. And it's like, no. But now that, like, you've been through your counseling, and I do things like that too, it's having those tools, right? And knowing where to go and what, like you said, you need to go back to AA.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said, this last time I went through, I took it a lot more serious the second time than I did the first time. So I remember, sitting down with my sponsor, you know, and going through all the things that you did and all, all the people that you have to tell that you're sorry and all that kind of stuff. And, I heard, that's when that humility thing started to creep in on me.
Right.
Thinking that, I'm not the great guy that I think I am.
Right. Yeah. That's when you got to get in that mirror and be
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, who are you really? Right.
Right.
And that's the thing. And I know you mentioned something earlier when we were talking about the low self-esteem. And I think any alcoholic addict I've ever spoken to has said that was what started it all. It was just like this low self-esteem. You drank, you felt a little better, you felt more confident, you could fit in better, and everything just went like that. And you were always hiding you, right? And now you're finding out who you are. And I'm sure through that process over the last 5 years, it hasn't been easy every day.
No. But I still fight the self-esteem issues, and it's tough. I mean, it actually, when I went to the floor for the first time, with my shadow, it was, I
He's
didn't.
talking about the casino.
Yeah,
just so
oh, I'm
you know.
sorry.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
but I didn't think I was gonna make it. I
Really?
really didn't. I was shaking. I
Oh.
couldn't, I had trouble concentrating. But a lot of it had to do with, there was that shadow was in my ear all the time telling me that I was wrong before I even had a chance to figure it out on my own.
Right.
Oh, you forgot to pick up that chip. You forgot to pick up this chip.
Yeah.
And it's like, so anyway, yeah. But, there was a lot of people there that really helped me through it.
And that's good too.
Yeah.
And that's what, I mean, I hope as working there myself and being a dealer before too, that people do that. But, so do you still go see the counselor?
I kind of, because, she also had a Bible study that she did, and on Saturday mornings, and I was part of that for a long time. So I was still seeing her, but it was through the Bible study kind of thing.
Right.
And then I started working nights, and I just can't get the Bowling Green that early in the morning on Saturday morning.
Yeah, I know it's tough. That's a tough thing, especially in the casino industry. I talk about that. I just went to church Sunday, and they're like, "We haven't seen you since Easter." I'm like, "I know, trust me."
Yeah.
But so I guess one thing I want to talk about, and like you mentioned that you started seeing a counselor. So I told you, like, I'm a big advocate for counseling. I think everybody in the entire world needs counseling. And I really believe that for so many years, the stigma on men especially was, don't talk about it. Don't talk about your problems. You're a man, you figure it out, step up to the plate, all that.
Dirt on it.
Right. And so I like that you came out and you said that, that you humbled yourself and you knew that you needed to do that. And I think it's just important for guys to know that it's okay. I have a lot of guys that call me and they'll tell me I'm like, whoa, okay then. But you know what I mean? But it's good because I'm like, thank you. Because keeping all that bottled inside, even as a girl, I mean, of course we have so many different chemical things going on, but it's hard for me. So I can't even imagine being a man and knowing like, well, if I say this and society is going to look at me, and especially with low self-esteem issues and stuff, right?
Right. And what it did was it allowed me to find a safe place that I could talk about this stuff without being judged.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And because, in AA, they always talk about you're only as sick as your secrets, right?
Yeah.
And there were secrets that I was going to take to my grave, right? And nobody would ever know what they are. Going to therapy allowed me to get some of that stuff out.
Yes.
And know that, one, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Right.
And, there's a lot of other people that are just, she wasn't surprised.
Right.
I'm thinking I'm going to tell her this stuff and she's going to say, oh God, I can't believe,
right.
She just took it in stride.
Right. Like, okay. Yeah. You're not the first one that told me basically the same story, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of the best things about it is knowing that you're not alone.
That's huge. And that's why I do this, to let people know that they're not alone in their struggles. And I just got into doing a Bible study, actually. It was Stephen Furtick, and it's called Chatterbox. It's a book he wrote. And it's like that. Like we get that chatterbox in our brain, and he said this on his one video, and I thought about it. He was like, I don't know, something about, he didn't take the garbage out or something, and then it ended up his wife took the garbage out, and then she had an open box, and all this foam went all over the place. And now, since he didn't do it, now this is where his mind went. Now I'm going to get divorced. I'm going to end up on the streets. I'm going to be an alcoholic. I'm going to be a heroin addict. I'm going to be standing on a corner. That's where his chatterbox went, right? And so that happens. So I know what happens with me, like that in your head, and like you said, self-esteem things, right? One little thing can trigger you to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not worthy. I can't do this. I'm not good enough to do this, right? They're all looking at me. What am I going to do, right? So, but I think that has to do with once we finally start getting well, but learning how to, David Goggins says, I don't know if you listen to him or not, but he's a motivational speaker, but he always says, either you let your mind control you or you control your mind. and this, I mean, sure, it's easy to say it.
It is.
It's easy to say it, but last night I had some chatterbox going on in my head, and I honestly, and I don't cuss very often, and I'm not going to say the word here, but I was like, shut the F up. I had to tell my brain, stop it.
Right.
Because I was taking myself down this low self-esteem place where I don't go there very often anymore, because I've really worked on that and worked on my worth. But man, that little voice can get in there and just start going. And
Yeah, no, it's, and the things aren't all roses.
Right.
I fight the depression and self-esteem stuff every single day. Especially when it comes to women. I have a horrible problem with women.
yeah,
I mean, I don't have a problem talking to them, but if I wanted to ask them to dinner or a cup of coffee,
yeah.
can't do it. I can't
And
do it.
and do you think that's because of you're afraid of the answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because before I ask the question, I already know what the answer is going to be.
Right, but you don't.
Right.
That's-
Now, most of the time, lately, it's most of the time I'm right.
Oh.
Because, well, and because in my mind, I'm
Mhm.
not 64 years old,
Right.
you know,
Well, yeah.
and
Oh, you're 64?
yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Thank
Well,
you.
you look good for 64.
But I keep asking women that are a lot younger than me
Mhm.
because I
I
don't
feel
look,
like I'm 64.
I don't.
Right.
or I look in the mirror and I don't see a guy.
Right.
That's because, all the time when you were growing up, right? When you saw somebody in their 60s,
Yeah.
they looked bad.
Right. They're old.
Yeah,
right?
old, right?
Yeah.
And I don't look like,
No,
I
you
don't think I look
No,
like
you
that.
don't.
So, but yeah, it's like, it's just, it's just tough. It
Yeah.
really is tough.
Yeah.
But and then, asking for help, I have real problem. I still have asked, even when we're dealing, it's easier for me to fix my mistake than ask one of you guys for help.
Come over and help. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause, and a lot of it also has to do with, for so long I've taken care of myself.
Mhm. Yeah.
And,
It's hard.
It
And
is.
that's especially when you've been taking care of yourself for so long, and probably other people too. I like, and we let our ego get in our way so much, right?
Right.
And I've learned, like, over the last, really since my mom passed away in 2020, I've learned so much more about myself. But I've learned it's okay to ask for help. I've learned that it's okay to take a compliment. It's really okay.
That's a good one
It
because
really is.
I'm not good at taking compliments.
Me either. I was horrible. Like, someone would say something about, let's just say, my hair now. So before I would be like, oh yeah, well, today I did, and I go through all this, and now I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, I see. It's like I'm looking for all the things wrong
right.
before I take the compliment.
Right.
And it's
Yeah. It's like, your hair looks good today, and you're like, yeah, but I didn't do this to it today.
Right.
And they're
and I
like,
think it looks like crap.
right, I think it looks like crap. Thank you for that. But instead, now I'm learning to just say, thank you.
Right.
I've been blessed by my hair.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's always that work in progress.
Right.
and learning to do those things. So I'm hoping that you can work on that.
Well, I have been.
Good.
So you should know. I mean, I do ask for help
You
a
do.
lot
He
more
does.
than I
He
used
does.
to. And so I do. I tried to, a couple of things that I've gotten to the point where, and I hate to say this, but when I was younger, it was always, I'm looking for these elaborate stories that I put together. If somebody asked me, and now it's, it's, do you like this? No.
Right.
It's not, I don't like it because of this, and this. It's like,
right.
And that's kind of freeing because there's no more lies,
right?
Because it's like, what do I care at this point? What do I care?
Right.
One, I probably never see that person again. So, and then, it's just, those are those lessons that you learn the hard way.
Right.
I mean,
right. But learning lessons and learning how to live differently through those lessons. And this is something that's a good point that I want to make just for everybody out here. So you're talking about, like, I would walk in and I would see you dealing or whatever, and I would never in a million years think that anything bothered you like that, right? Like asking us to come over or anything.
Right.
I wouldn't see that. That's why I always say, be kind, open the door for somebody, give somebody a smile, do this, because you never know what someone is going through. And don't be mean to people. Like, if you came over and asked me for help, I'm going to come over and help you. And maybe it's something that we need to talk about afterwards, but not like because I've seen, and I'm just going to use an example of the casino. I've seen people humiliate other people when they're on the game. And I'm like, you can't
Right.
do that to somebody. Don't do that to them.
Right.
Right. When they get
Right.
off the game, then talk to them about it. But that's where my big focus in everything in life is, just be a good, kind person. I
Right.
think there's a golden rule that says
No,
that, right?
absolutely. And I totally agree with you. I hold the door open for people
Mhm.
wherever I'm at,
Mhm.
you know, go if it doesn't make any difference who you are. I
Right.
mean, I hold the door open for people. I say hello to people, you know, you know, for a long time, that was hard. That was
Right.
stepping out of my comfort zone. Now it's just something I do every day.
Right.
But you just don't know that you could say hello to somebody and that was what they needed at that
Yes.
point in time
Yes.
to turn their day around. You'll never
Yes.
know,
Right.
but it could happen.
Yes, yes, for sure. So that's one of my big
Right, me too.
things that I talk about all the time. Just be a kind person. Just
Right.
be nice. If it's something that you don't, it's something nice. Wait, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Right. So, and that's
Right.
true. Now, if I'm helping somebody, I might, you know, that's a whole different thing, but I'm still nice about it. I'm still not, you know, I can tell people, you know, it's like, when, especially talking like through our addiction and stuff like that, like I can't say, yes, Jeff, I know how you feel. But I can say, yes, Jeff, I can relate to some of the things you're talking about. And I think that's big too. I don't know why that just came in my head, but being relatable to people.
Right. I use the word understand. I kind of understand where you're
Yep,
coming
that's good.
from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, I think that's probably of this, just sitting here today, that's probably the biggest lesson, you know, is being able to tell people that, you know, I've been where you are,
Mhm.
you know, and it does get better.
Right.
It doesn't get better overnight.
Right.
And there's going to be a whole lot of left turns before you get there.
Yeah.
And even after you get there, there's still going to be a lot of left
Yes,
turns.
yes.
But it's easier to live with the stuff.
It is.
And the left turns aren't as, you know, they're not as drastic as they used to. You kind of now we're just veer off.
Right. They're not a complete like 90-degree
Right.
turn. Now they're like a
I was even thinking of a U-turn
Right.
even when
Yeah.
I said that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, now they just kind of veer off.
Yeah.
So.
And that's where it comes to the point of using your tools and learning, using
Right.
the things that you've learned. Because like I said earlier, you know, people are always like, oh, your life is amazing. And my life is really good. I'm not going to lie, but I still, like I just said, I just had that chatterbox in my brain last night and I still go through struggles, but now I've used tools to get through those struggles. You know, I know that if I'm having a moment that I'm like down on myself about something, I'm going to turn on a YouTube motivational video or something.
I was going through it the other night myself. I'm thinking, you know, I'm going, you know, especially in the casino, I see these like good looking women with these total, I don't know. And I don't know what they see in the guy, but they see something in him.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know, she doesn't even have to be hot. I just like to have somebody, you know, in my life. But, you know, those are the things that that's what it talks to me all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I agree in the casino. And I have to say that that's kind of, because I've been single a long time too, and sometimes you look out there and you're like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Why am I still single and that's happening right now? But honestly, that's not even that's not. But it's that chatterbox in your head, right? Because then you're like, wait a minute, why am I not good enough for somebody like that? Or why? But then here's the thing: we're looking at a little picture, right? You're just looking at this.
Yeah.
You don't see what it's like at home.
Exactly.
Right. I just had this yesterday. We had a girl at the diner. I was helping out at the diner yesterday morning. She came in to pick up a to-go order. It was at the wrong diner. So she had to go over to the other one on Reynolds Road. Well, then she came back and her boyfriend's yelling on the phone and we're like, I'm sorry, it's already cooked over there, right? And then she was kind of snippety and stuff. And I had grace for her because I thought, man, I don't know what her boyfriend's like at home, what she's going to go through when she gets home because he ordered wrong.
Right.
But I could tell by the way that she was trying to defend and get it, you know what I mean? Like, and so then I have to picture that a lot of times, like it's just like in our social media world, right? I don't know if you're on social media at all.
Well, I am, yeah.
But you look and everything's just
you know, I saw your picture.
and, you know, yeah, my
with the
dancing
Jeep.
and my Jeep and everything's rainbows and unicorns,
Right.
which I portray. I mean, my life is pretty good, but I'm going to tell you the bad things too. I'm going to tell you what I've had to do to get to where I'm at. Like my worth, I struggled with my worth for years. And I honestly just started really feeling worthy in the last few years, but it's
Right.
been work, it's been work on myself. Every morning I have to get up and have a conversation with myself in the
Right.
mirror.
No, I mean, when I reflect back, I've been a successful guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked my way up, even though I was, they took me off the floor as an addict. I worked my way up to being general sales manager of a car dealership.
Right.
All right. And then when I figured I had met my future wife by then, and I figured, oh, I gotta do something else with my life.
Right.
And I'm a college graduate. Okay. So I got the job of being a financial advisor, and I did that for 28 years. And I was district manager here at the Toledo office for a number of years. And I mean, when I look back at it, I've been successful. I retired. I sold my practice to my partner. I get a check every month from him.
Right.
And, I went to work for the casino because I didn't have anything else to do.
Right.
I have all kinds of projects during the summer, but I got nothing to go do in this wintertime. So, but I'm thinking, full-time at this point in my life is probably more than I should have taken on. So I'm thinking about changing to part-time.
Yeah. You gotta do what's best for you.
And I've been running the numbers, and I think, I think because
fine. It's about the same.
it is, it's amazing. It's about the same.
It is. I've heard a lot of part-time dealers say that throughout the years that I worked there too. So, well, is there any last things that you want to, share with anybody or?
Well, again, we don't project it as, but it is a lot of hard work.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm not afraid to say, there's a lot of nights I cried myself to sleep. I mean, my depression was so bad that, watching a sporting event, right? And watching the Star Spangled Banner, I would just break out in tears. But sitting there by myself, and it's like I can't stop. So and that stuff isn't as bad as it used to be.
Right.
But I think that's one of the things is that I can talk about it now when I get a chance. So I was talking, took my dog to my mom's so she could watch my dog while I came here. And, I said, I'm going to talk about my addiction. It's something that I'm not afraid of.
Right.
I talk to my kids about it.
Right.
And so, and they know everything.
Yeah. You know what? I never even asked you. How many kids do you have?
I have two.
Two.
I married a woman that already had the kids.
Oh, okay.
So, I tell her, and I raised them as my own children.
Right.
And my daughter still, calls me dad.
Right.
The other guy is, well, she calls him the sperm donor.
Right. It's funny. So we call my son's dad.
Yeah, but I'm still dad. And when she's got a problem, I'm the guy that she calls and that kind of thing. And so I raised him as my own, but I get to tell everybody that I've never changed a diaper. Never, ever have I changed a diaper. So, and at this point in my life, it's kind of, I look back at that and think that I missed that part of my life.
Yeah.
So, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Right. I mean, I had to go through that marriage, get those kids, to have the life that I have today. Yeah. And which is interesting because I've been divorced almost 15 years now, and I still have a relationship with those two. Yeah. So.
Which is big for them too.
Yeah.
I have a bonus daughter and a bonus son. That Nicholas was 18 months old and Heather was 3.5 when their dad and I got together. And I actually ordained her wedding. I married her in December. Unfortunately, Nicholas, my bonus son, he was killed in a car accident in 2012. So, but I'm still she's still never has there been a part of her life that she didn't know that I was in it. So that's important. But anyways, I cut you off on your mom taking the dog that you were sharing your.
Oh, it's just that I told her, she goes, well, what are you going to do? I says, well, I'm going to that podcast interview. And she goes, what is that all about? And I said, well, I'm just going to talk about my, how I got to where I am, and all the good stuff and all the ugly stuff that went with it. Yeah. Yeah. So,
and we appreciate you sharing that because like I said, there's so many people that, and like you said, when you went to your counselor, they don't look at you like, what? You did what? Right. Man, there's so much of us out there that we all have the same stories, basically. Right. They're just in a different context.
Right. And I tell people, today, it's like, dude, you can tell me things and it's I'm probably already been there.
Right.
Because one of the things I learned by working with people, right, is I never ask anybody to do something that I won't do
Mhm.
or I haven't done in the past. And I think that's important for people to understand that.
Yeah.
And so when people tell me, well, this is what I did, it's like, yeah, okay.
Okay.
I've
right.
been there,
Right.
been there,
Right.
you know, and I had it worse than that.
Right.
So,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
some people, you know, and then there's people that had it worse than you did
Right,
and everything
right.
else, but it makes you relatable.
It does. It does. And that's, I was just telling somebody yesterday, we were like talking about your problems, they say you throw your problems in a pile, everybody, you're gonna go grab your own back because there are a lot of people that have a lot of worse things going on in life. But I appreciate you sharing because it just shows people that it's okay to be transparent.
Yep.
It's okay to share your story, and you are going to struggle, but it's okay to get to a strength and learn from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really appreciate it. Can I get a
Thank
hug?
you. You bet.
I'm a big
Absolutely.
hugger.
That's okay. I like hugs.
And everybody, I just want to thank you so much for jumping on Hope today. Once again, if you're at home and you're struggling and you feel like you're all alone, we have Jeff's story, we have Jamie's story, I have AJ's story. There's just so many stories out there that people have gone through some extreme struggles, but have gotten to a strength and are still getting up and getting out of bed every day. So I hope you all have a very blessed day, and we are out of here.